Other people will hear it. So let me say good morning. This is the Saturday service. I'm Rabbi Brian in Portland. It is currently 8 o'clock in the morning. It might be a different time where you are, so don't set your clock. If you're watching this not on Saturday, the 26th day of February, it might not be this time and date for you where you are. Glad you guys are all here. This is a different way of looking at a service. I want to do a quick little pan so everyone can see. There are all my friends who are there live. Can you wave to each other? Wave to all the people who are watching. That's so cute. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to go back to this screen. Oh my gosh, we have a lot to talk about today. We might not get to all of it, but that's all right. Last week, this is something that I thought about, was like, I want to talk about last week. My buddy Larry was with me, and you guys got to meet Larry. Some of you, thank you very much for finally agreeing that Larry is a real person and not somebody who I made up. I have a thought here. It's like, what were some of the things that you learned from Larry? And I want to be very careful because not everyone was here last week. And it starts to feel a little bit weird if this is your first week coming to something and everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, wasn't that awesome, that other thing that I wasn't part of, that doesn't feel really inclusive. And I wanted us just to be careful and conscious that if we refer to something that happened in the past week, not everyone might know what that is. So to keep in our mind to explain that. I think it's fair, though, if you're willing to play along, to tell me what is something, and because this is just the knowledge part of it, is there something that you learned? Is there a quote or a thought that my buddy Larry said that has stuck with you for the past week? And it's something that you want to share out because it would be good knowledge at any time. Is there anyone who has some thought from last week that they wanted to share? If not, that's cool. Yeah, go ahead, Gord. Thank you. Also, I do like to announce, keep your mics unmuted, so if you have something to say, you say it, and catch my attention. I don't always see you, so shout out if I didn't catch you. Yeah, go ahead, Gord.
So I remember you and Larry were talking about the Bible and what's in the Bible and how some folks take that as the final word. And he was talking about the distinction between truth stories and true stories.
The difference between true and truth. And help us out. What'd you get the difference between true and truth? Do you have it?
I guess that a truth story needn't have happened.
Yeah.
But that there's still truth in it, and that there's value that we can take away from it.
Yeah. In the United States, we tell this story about George Washington chopping down a cherry tree, and they said, hey, little George, did you chop down the cherry tree? And he says, I cannot tell a lie, I did. That is not a true story. We know that story started circulating while George Washington was still alive. He denied that it happened. It did not happen. It is not a true story, but it is a truth story because it still teaches a truth. Ironically, it is a truth story about telling the truth, which is a lie. But that just goes to prove that it can be true without it being. It can have.
Yeah, mine's working.
It can have, what are the two? It can have this without that. What's the first one? It can be this without being.
It can have truth without being true.
It can have truth without being true. Sometimes people use the words in the opposite of how I meant. And I did see there was another hand that went up of something.
Yeah, it was mine.
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
What I got out was, I started to pay attention more to how somebody sees what you're saying. And takes it, and so I started to be more careful with my wording to make sure it was not coming across as my opinion of what they were saying, but checking to see if I had heard it correctly.
Yeah, that's a brilliant thing. That's a great thing. Amy, what I heard you say was, and then you fill in what there's a little extra noise going on. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can fix that.
Got it.
Thanks. It's a really powerful tool to have. Thank you, Amy, for reminding us of it. Is to say back to someone, what I just heard you say is blankety blank blank blank, and to make sure you heard it. And it is terrifying how often that's not what they said. If you go to check back with someone, they will often say, no, that's not exactly it. And it's easier to not check in. I mean, it doesn't make for good communication, but it's just easier. Al, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, Larry taught me the whole concept of pre-Easter Christian.
Yeah, so last week my buddy Larry was here. He was a minister since he was 18. He's 84, going on 85. And he said he is a pre-Easter Christian. What the heck does that mean, Al?
Yeah, that means that basically there's the story of Jesus, and you have the whole story of like what Jesus did while he was alive, and then the story of the resurrection.
Yeah,
and he's a follower of Jesus up until the resurrection. He's not quite sure about that story, the post-Easter story.
I'm glad you like that, Linda. Thank you, Al, for saying. And let me dive a little deeper into one thing that Larry didn't talk that strong about last week. Was he said there's a difference between, listen to this, between resuscitation and resurrection. That resuscitation, he doesn't believe there was a resuscitation, but that there can be a resurrection. That I keep my dad alive, right, in my heart, in my thoughts. It's not resuscitated, and that you can have a relationship with Jesus. One can have a relationship with Jesus without Jesus becoming bodily back from the dead. Thank you for reminding us of that one too, Al. This is good. Meg, I wanted to check in with you, and I know if you don't want to, you will tell me where to go.
I hope you go to heaven.
Thank you, Meg. Dear heart, bless your soul.
I've had a day and a half of quilting classes.
Oh, good.
So I'm in a good place.
Now,
one of them was on abstract. And I really, really liked the teacher. We could do no wrong.
Oh, well, that's good. Now, Meg, you had some homework from last week. Special Meg homework.
Oh, I was supposed to be kind. Oops.
Yeah.
I know. I have been kind to people.
Good. How'd it go?
Pretty good. I really like that better than being grumpy.
You like being kind better than being grumpy?
Yeah, you get a better response.
So wait, Meg, I mean, you and I did not stooge this ahead of time, though we could have. Are you saying that it is better to be kind for your own sake?
Well, I mean, the other person probably likes it too, but for your own sake, it is better to be kind.
Now,
I will admit,
yeah,
in one of the classes, there was a woman who interrupted, went up, corrected the teacher, blah, 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 and I used every one of your little tricks to not tell her what I was thinking. And those of you that know me know that's very hard.
Well, Meg, I think you get a sticker. Where are my stickers?
Yes.
I don't know where my stickers are. They will show up. Oh, here they are. What color sticker do you want, Meg?
Oh, purple.
Purple sticker. This sticker is going on the back of my phone. This one is yours, Meg.
Thank you very much.
So,
I think it was worth it for me to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. So, does anyone, dare we, Meg, think that your experience might be a universal experience, that other people might have the same results?
Well, I suspect they would, but I wouldn't want to tell them that.
Why wouldn't you want to tell them that?
That's your job, Rabbi.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm going to tell all of you, you all have homework, which is in the next week, to try to be as kind as possible. And we're finding out that you're not just doing this for the sake of others, but selfishly, it might actually benefit you to not tell people what you really think of them. Unless it was a positive, of course. Good. Well, thank you, Meg. That was fantastic. That was great. Is my buddy Shmuley on the line? I didn't see him yet. No. Okay, because we had a thing. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to ask my friend Anne, and if we can spotlight Anne, to read a poem. And it's this just beautiful poem, and it will satisfy our quotient of theology for the week. It's just a beautiful poem about God, and but you'll see how that poem goes. And let me spotlight you in. Hold on. Go ahead, Anne. Thank you.
Okay. It's called The Voice of God by Mary Carr. 90% of what's wrong with you could be cured with a hot bath, says God through the manhole covers. But you want magic. To win the lottery you never bought a ticket for. Tenderly, the monks chant, embrace the suffering. The voice never panders, offers no 5-year plan, no long-term solution, no edicts from a cloudy white beard hooked over ears. It is small and fond and local. Don't look for your initials in the geese honking overhead, or to see through the glass even darkly. It says the most obvious shit, i.e., put down that gun, you need a sandwich.
Thank you for sharing that, Anne. And for those of you who are stronger on the reading, taking things in than the hearing it, Alex, you were able to place that into the chat for us. Anne, thank you so much for reading. Oh no!
Whoa!
We'll fix that. Hold on 1 second.
Wouldn't be Saturday service without it.
We got to have some technical difficulty, or
Stairway to heaven.
Or we wouldn't know this is live. Hold on 1 more second, please. Got to go to this screen. There we are. I'm glad to say next week I'm going to be at home with my normal controls. And that should go well. I have wanted to ask people.
Sure.
Last week we talked a little bit about the difference between a request and a demand. Talked a little bit about the difference between a request and a demand, and that it's only a request if the person who doesn't do the thing feels unpunished for not having done it. I'm going to say that again. It's vaguely powerful. It is only a request if you're not passive-aggressive when the person doesn't do the thing you ask them to. And I thought about this. How can you invite if there's hey, I really enjoyed the movie The Two Popes. Came out in 2019. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's just a beautiful story about how we went from Pope Benedict and Pope Francis, how we have two popes at the same time. Beautifully acted by Price and Anthony Hopkins, and it's gorgeous. Now, I can recommend that you all see that. That's a request or a demand?
Request.
Well,
Request.
we don't know yet, actually.
We don't know.
Right. It sounded like a request. It did sound like a request. But how would we know truly if it were a request or a demand?
The response that we receive from you, whether we do it or not.
Right. That's how you know if it was a request. Because if we come back next week and I'm pissy that you didn't see the movie that I recommended you see.
Wait a minute. I sort of have a different take on that, and I apologize for interrupting.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Jocelyn, before you continue, pick a color.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite color is green.
Green. You get a green sticker for done interrupting me when you have something you felt you needed to say. So I thank you for doing that. Go right ahead, Jocelyn.
Raising my hand. Yeah, I also have a different take on this, and I'm wondering if it's similar. I grew up in a society of a long line of women who were terrified of being aggressive.
Uh-huh.
Let that sink in.
You were...
Passive aggressiveness is
defense mechanism against abuse.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
In my family. So yes, I understand what you're saying, and it's wonderful to bring this out, but I really want to make it very clear that it is a struggle. Me as a child of a narcissist on one end and a abused, parent on the other end. It is taking me a lot of psychological therapy to realize that this is truly just a defense mechanism, and saying what it is really helps you battle it.
Well, I love it. So calling out the request, calling out the demand.
I have to do it on a regular basis.
So can you give an example of that for us? How you do that in real time? Is that if not, that's that. If not, that's cool. Now notice what I just did there, right? No, I just made a request and then I backed it down.
No, I don't want you to back it down. That is what I'm talking about, because you've done this to me a couple times. When you say, this is my request, but then you back it down a little, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to do that. Right?
Oh, I hear what you're saying, Jocelyn. I hear what you're saying.
You should not
That's
feel
great.
like you have to give somebody an invite out of your request, because there is already an invite out of your request. You're not being passive aggressive.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
No.
That's brilliant.
They should know that.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you, Jocelyn, and I will keep it in mind. I will tell you my initial, my reflex response. My reflex response is, with the title of rabbi, with the title of father, to my children, not a priest, right? With the title comes an inherent power differential. And I want it to be, I don't want some, well, that rabbi told me I had to do this. I don't, that goes against my goal. I don't want, so I will keep this in mind, and I thank you for helping me think on it. This will be my homework for the next week. Cool. Go. Yeah. Hold on. Let me thank you again for interrupting. Harold, go ahead.
Let's take this just a little bit further. If the boss comes down the hall and says, I want you to go do this and that, isn't that an inherent power position?
Yeah,
now?
That is.
So let me ask you, isn't the person who's making the request most of the time in the power position?
Let's assume okay.
All right, if that's true, then what Jocelyn says is really important, because if you back off and say, well, I'd like to have you do this, but you don't have to, and then you say, okay, I won't do it, then the Oklahoma veto comes into effect. The boss is going to nail you, demote you, and move you down to offices.
What was the Oklahoma? I don't know that phrase.
That's the same thing as being passive aggressive.
Okay.
You read something, then you do something else. That's an Oklahoma veto.
Well, that's up to the boss and the boss's temperament. If the boss is a dick and says you have a choice, but you didn't really have a choice, I find new work.
All right, so that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You sit in that same power position
yeah.
you just described as a rabbi.
Yeah.
So the power position person has to be extremely careful
that's what
about how they address this, because the hearer is going to
correct.
You can't predict the response of the hearer.
Right. All right. So I think this is really helping to find this, make this a little finer. Is let us try to be careful in the next week when we make a request of someone where it might seem we have the authority over them, to be a little more conscious of it. Thank you, Harold, for helping to bring that up. Golly gee. Yes, Anne.
When you asked me if I would read the poem, you started with, you can say no if you want to.
Yeah.
Like, please consider that you can say no to this. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. I think I actually wrote, would you say no if I asked you to read this poem? I think I accidentally added an extra negative, and I thank you for making
no, it was very much giving me permission to say no.
Right? And for some people, just the ability to say no without being punished for it? That's revolutionary.
Amen.
Thank you, Emily, my amen corner. Okay.
I know.
So that being said, I'm going to ask you, did you hear ask? I'm going to ask. It's going to be a demand only. I can't control if it's a demand. If you feel...
Excuse me, Rabbi. Someone wants to talk to you, Amy.
Oh, go ahead, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, what I was sort of echoing was when you were talking about as a rabbi and as a father,
Yeah.
the way I look at it is the rabbi is making not a demand, but a request. You can do it, you don't have to do it. Whereas if it's the father or the mother, you better dang well do it because you're going to get your hide whooped if you don't.
Well, that's I mean, what it.
So I think it's very different if it's a parent figure.
Well, last week with my daughter on the line, I asked her if she would undo the dishwasher, and she pretty flatly said no.
Right, but I mean, I think she was trying to make a point or help you make a point between demand and request.
Yeah.
So in that case, it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Than had it not been
Thank you, Amy.
broadcast in front of how many people.
I think it's so let's just keep this as something that we're going to stay conscious of in the next week of when we're making demands and requests of people. I feel this way about this service. I will say to friends, they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I just have too much going on. I can't go to." And I have said since the beginning of me working as a rabbi, us being friends and you showing up to my service have nothing to do with each other. I have a friend who's an accountant. I don't show up to her office to, right? You're not required to show up to this service. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And one of the things I love about the service is there's no penalty for not showing up. And the best you're going to get is a sticker on my phone for showing up. So low stakes. Bob, go ahead. And then we're going to move on to, if I can prepare Joe ahead of time and Alex to be ready to spotlight Joe, that we can do some prayers. Go ahead.
I think it depends upon the relationship. I know that as a parent, that when I told my children, I want you to do this, that I expected that they were going to do it. Actually, then when my kids got to be about 14 years old, I said, up until this point in time, I expected that when I told you to do something, you were going to do it. Now I expect that when I tell you to do something, you may not do it. And that what we need to work on is that if what you choose to do instead of what I tell you to do turns out to be successful, then to me, it signifies that you have reached that level of being able to make your own decisions about what's best for you.
Yeah.
And we can celebrate that.
And
if not, it doesn't turn out, then I set the consequences.
Right. And in Judaism, we mark that at 13. As we say at 13, if you want to make your own decision, that's on you, but you do have to live with the consequences thereof. Wonderful. Thank you guys for doing. Joe, we have to take a moment to have some prayers for those people. Go right ahead, Joe.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Today's list includes Rose, Frida, Rita, Betsy M, Patsy S, Coral, Margaret, Carol, Ken, Lauren N, Lauren L, Abbas, Signe, Greg, Dylan, Judy, Francis, Jeff Brooks, Elizabeth, and all of the people of the Ukraine.
Let's take a minute of just silence, and we'll do that when this little clock up here hits 45, and we'll just sit silently for a minute. If you want to stare at the screen, stare at the screen. If you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. Amen.
Amen.
I have a little exercise that I want to try. Now, listen. Some of the ones I practice and I've practiced. This one's new. I've not done it with a group before. This is the first time we're doing it as a group. We'll see how this little exercise go. I will tell you there's a sucker punch to it at the end. There's a little twist to the words that I'm going to use. So bear with me and let's see how this goes. I practiced it with individuals. Again, I haven't done it with a large group. We'll see how this goes. I want you to think, you as an individual, about a friend of mine. I'm not going to tell you the person's name. It's somebody who I happen to know of. I want to tell you about this person who is in need of an extra dose of love. Now, those of you who are clever are going to think, I see where the rabbi's going here. He's going to say, it's me. It's not you. I want you to think, and that would be clever, that would be good, and of course you are all in need of extra love, but this is someone who's having a really hard time right now. And it's somebody who you know who's having a really hard time right now. I might not know this person. It's someone who they're just not getting enough love in their life, and they're feeling criticized, they're feeling blamed, they're on the short end of things, and it's not going well. And they're one of these people who, so I'll tell you who the person is. It is exactly the person in your life who you're having a difficult time liking. I'll put it backwards the other way. If you think about the person who you're struggling to like right now because that person's being a doop-de-doo, that person is being selfish, that person's being arrogant, that person is being short-sighted, that person is... There's something that changes, and notice it. Just notice how there's a little bit of change in your thinking when you think of that person not as the most annoying person in the world, but when you think of that person as that's actually someone who is in need of a little extra portion of love.
That's 339.
As someone who's in need of a little bit more love. And I'm wondering, what's your experience of this little exercise? It was that the entire exercise was in that little moment, and maybe next time I do it, I'm going to focus it so we can see it. It's in that little moment where you realize that it's the person who is annoying you, is the person who you are called on right now to love a little harder. What's that do in you?
It gives me a headache.
Gives you a headache.
Which one?
This guy's hilarious.
Yeah. Thank you, April. Meg, you were saying something.
No, I was just agreeing with Ray. It does sort of give me a headache.
Right.
But it's an excellent thought.
It's an excellent thought. All right, let's see. I can see a bunch of you on the screen. How many of you does it give you a headache? How many of you did it feel like a sucker punch? Like, oh, come on, fuck that rabbi. I don't really want to be nice to that asswipe. How many of, come on, honest hands. Yeah,
This is me.
It's you.
It's me. I annoy me.
You annoy you.
So I need to have more compassion for me.
Okay, so you were the loophole. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how's that hit you?
At all, but
How's it hit you, Aaron, that you realize that the person who you're having the hardest time liking right now is you, which therefore means you are the one who's needing the most love?
Right.
Headache or annoying or?
I was powerful.
Powerful.
It made me feel stupid too.
Okay.
I don't have more compassion for myself.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. It's really hard to have compassion for ourselves. It's ridiculously hard to have compassion for ourselves. Yeah, Michael, what do you have? You're on mute though, bud.
Rabbi, it makes me feel sad. It makes me feel regretful for all just the bad energy I put into disliking other people, being unhappy with them.
Right?
It makes me sad.
Right?
Waste.
You see, like, oh my gosh, I could have had more. But then there's something Larry taught me. There's no use kicking your ass for kicking your ass. Like, once you realize you made a mistake and something went wrong, don't kick your ass again and again and again for that. That's a few extra ass kickings. Thank you, Michael.
Second arrow.
Say it again, Michael.
The second arrow.
This is the second arrow. Yeah. All right. So okay. Oops. You need to have more compassion for them. Yeah, Eileen. What do you say, my friend?
I had to do this this week. Jeff Brooks, who we prayed for, is my brother-in-law. He's not kind to my sister, who he's married to, and he had an accident. So he's in a local burn unit, but it's 3 hours away from where my sister is, and I don't like him very much. But I really had to dig deep, and that's what I was doing. Like, so it pushing the love,
good,
you know.
And, good on you, Eileen.
And I also thought first I thought it was James in prison. Yeah. You said a friend of mine, but we all know him. I don't know if everybody knows him, but then and then I just remembered that I heard of somebody say, "Never let anyone's opinion of you become your reality."
Yeah.
But if you're the one who's not nice to yourself, then I guess you need to give yourself more love.
It's really hard. That's a really hard thing. It's really, like, I know, because I deal with people. If I asked any of you to be kind to the next box on the screen, y'all would be, oh yeah, let me put my needs aside and I'll help that person easy. But the mirror part makes it a little bit harder. To be kind to yourself. All right, so let me explore this. I wasn't planning on going this way, but let's do it. Why? Why? What do you think? Give me some ideas. Why are we not able to be as kind to ourselves as we wish we could? I mean, we got some bad programming. We need some firmware updates. Maybe it's just the hands we were dealt. What can we do about this? I don't think I need to know why it happened. I want more. What are solutions for it? I'm going to just keep talking because I have a thought that came to mind. The solution.
Sorry to hog the floor.
Do it, Eileen.
I've been working on it a lot, and I don't really understand why people can love other people if they don't love themselves. But I really think always about put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else.
Sure.
And I think to other people, I put myself on the back burner. Yeah. But I really do take self-care.
Yeah.
And I had COVID in December and had to say no to everything and said, oh, this isn't bad.
Right. I had been challenged once, and then Ray, I'll get to you. I had been challenged once by someone. They said, just say no to the next request that comes in, just to practice it. And a friend asked to borrow our vacuum cleaner. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't lend our vacuum cleaner right now. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm not lending my vacuum. And the person apologized for asking. Like, oh my gosh, this is powerful. Ray, your mic is on, and hi, Patty. Ray, you have something you want to add here?
I did, but it's gone.
That's okay. It's okay.
We'll let it go.
I'm going to try something, and I think this might help. Okay, I know, and I haven't done these for a long while. Everyone, take your right hand. I'm going to do the thing where we can all see each other. Hold on. There we are. I'm going to ask everyone to take your right hand. Everyone, let me see your right hands. Right hand's going on your left ear. Oh, God. Yeah. That's a religious part of our show today. Good. Okay. Left hand goes on your nose. Clap, switch. You can't do it. That's fine.
The left hand.
Right hand, left ear, left hand, nose, clap, switch,
Okay.
clap, switch, clap. And you guys know I have hundreds of these ridiculous. Don't stop. Just stop. You're fine. You're fine. There's no need to do that. But what I want to use it for is I want to use it to reintroduce a concept we haven't used for a while, which is that learning is not either you can do it or you can't. That there are 5 stages to learning, and these are the work of a Russian education theorist named Vygotsky. And Vygotsky said learning goes like this. We start with, we can't do it at all, which you just had that experience of. You can't do the thing that I did. Stage 2 is you can do it, but you need a lot of hand-holding. All right, everyone take your right hand, put it on your left ear. Everyone put your left hand on your nose. Now slowly, everyone move the hand that was on their nose to the right ear. You could do it if I gave you step-by-step instructions. Oh, where this is going, so you should be listening for this while we're doing it. Self-kindness. We're getting towards self-kindness in real time. How do we do self-kindness in real time? Well, we start by not being able to do it well. Then we get to doing it where we need a lot of help, where somebody is giving us massive hints. Stage 3, you only need a little bit of a hint. Okay, everyone ready to move their hands off their nose? Go! You just need a little reminder. Stage 4, just like stage 3, but instead of the hint coming from the outside, hey, you should probably... There was a moment once where I was teaching something and I got mad at myself. I was like, oh, shit, I suck at this. And I said it with a little levity, but... Oh, and I apologize for the extra cursing today. I said it with some levity, and Afia, my friend Afia, she said, Rabbi, maybe you want to change that inner monologue instead to something more like, say, friend, I noticed something, right? So this is the hint from the outside, and then this is when you get the hint from the inside, where you realize, oh, am I supposed to? I'm supposed to be kind to myself. Yeah, I remember that. And then stage 5 is where you are just kind to yourself automatically. And we can get there. Anything can be learned. It just takes what? It takes some practice, and it takes failing at stage number 3 a bunch of times until you get to stage number 4. So how are we going to be kind to ourselves this week? Well, let's first start with where are you? Where are you in the being kind to yourself? Can't do it at all? Can do it with a lot of help? You can do it here at the service. You can do it with a hint from the outside. If you need a hint from the outside, that's fine. Find someone who can help give you a hint. You do it.
I think stage 0 is the person has to want to do it.
Bob, you are absolutely right. No change happens unless you want to do it. And that's there might be a secret hidden joy of not being kind to yourself. It might be because it feels like home, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got a lot more yes on that than I was expecting. That's hard. It might feel normal to put yourself down. Ooh, that's too bad.
There's an interesting comment in the chat.
Yeah, Joe, thank you.
I know this may not be the most enlightened thing I've written or spoken. There are those that I just don't want to spend my time and energy on, and that's the kindness and love I give myself.
Amen. Yeah, so there's an article that Larry helped me to write called How to Deal with Impossible People. And Bob, it's the very first thing that you just said, and Joe, it's what you just mentioned in the chat, is the very first thing you have to do is say, is this even worthwhile?
Yeah.
Is this something I even want to do? And if the answer is no, save yourself some time.
I have problem with that, trying to connect with local community, where I'm trying to connect with the community, but I found like I'm wasting time, that I could better spend this time on my own.
Okay.
And I understand I'm not engaging other people, and I see that problem. But I'm trying to engage a local Jewish community. I don't want to be specific about this, but the problem's more universal. But I try to. It's hard for me to connect to a community without having to do what they want me. And
yeah.
Honestly, that's some of the reason I'm here.
Yeah, and part of group membership is you have to give up some personal freedom.
Right. Yeah.
That's the price of being part of a group. Is I had a philosophy professor who says you can't just make doo-doo anywhere you want on the floor. Mm-hmm. You have to go poo-poo in the potty. He didn't say that part. I added that in. Okay. So it looks like we're yeah.
I've had a thought about that from something somebody said here, and that was they were fussing about how at the beginning of the feminist movement we were all told to be assertive and not aggressive and to wear pants and blah, blah, blah. In order to be heard by a group you want to join, you have to have some characteristics of that group.
Correct.
So they can see you,
yeah.
in my opinion. And that's a humble opinion.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance. Thank you, Meg.
Sure.
It's not easy. You got to look like you belong. My dad kept saying to me, he said, Brian, I don't know why you can beat them, join them, and then beat them. Don't beat them, then join them. He didn't really like that I left organized religion, so that was his way of saying that. I want to read you all a story. Okay. Story time. You guys ready for story time? Now,
hey, Blanky.
I have, it's not often done in Jewish services, but I have been guest preacher at churches in the past, and they have something sometimes called the children's message. And the children's message always felt weird to me, because they would have all the kids come up and sit on the steps and have me address the kids. And I would always say to the kids, hey, there's a whole bunch of adults behind me watching. I don't think I'm just talking to you. It always seemed a little suspect to me. If it was supposed to be just a children's message, why are we doing it in front of the adults? Anyway, that being said, I brought a message for you today, which might feel like a children's message. But as none of you are, well, I think our youngest member is just about to turn 13, so none of you are very little. This is not that kind of children's message. Here it is. It is a story by Lauren Thompson and illustrated by Derek Anderson, and it's called Little Quack. And I think you're really going to enjoy this story. Little Quack by Lauren Thompson and Derek Anderson. Get that. You all see that? There it is.
Little glare. Yeah.
Okay. I'm working on it, folks. There we go. Mama Duck had 5 little ducklings. Whittle, Waddle, Piddle, Puddle, and Little Quack. They all lived together in a nice, soft nest. But even Mama's littlest duckling wasn't so little anymore. It's time to leave the nest, she would say. Come, little ducklings, Mama called. Paddle on the water with me. The 5 little ducklings squeezed close in the nest. No, Mama, no, they cried. We're too scared. You can do it, Mama said. I know that you can. Okay, the fact that the ducks speak English, just go with it. I know some of you that might be a stopping point. Just keep going. All at once, Whittle felt very brave. She jumped into the pond. Splish! Look, she cried. Look at me. Now, 4 little ducklings snuggled close in the nest. Come, little ducklings, Mama called again. Paddle on the water with me. No, Mama, no, we're too scared, cried Waddle, Piddle, Puddle, and Little Quack. You can do it, Mama said. I know that you can. Then Waddle felt very brave. He plunged into the pond. Splash! Hooray, he cried. Hooray for me! Now, 3 little ducklings close in the nest. Come, little ducklings, Mama called again. Paddle on the water with me. No, Mama, no, we're too scared, cried Paddle. You can do it, Mama said. I know that you can. Then came a big bear from the woods and ate all of the ducklings. No, that didn't happen. I just made that part up. Sorry. That's just because I have a wacky sense of humor. Okay, then Piddle, for a moment, felt very brave. She wiggled into the water. Sploosh! It's fun, she cried. It's lots of fun. Now 2 little ducklings cuddled in close in the nest. Come, little ducklings, Mama called again. Paddle on the water with me. No, Mama, no, we're too scared, cried Puddle and Little Quack. You can do it, Mama said. I know that you can. Now, at this point, some of you are catching on to the analogy of what is actually going on here. Let me keep going. At last, Puddle felt very brave, too. He leaped into the water. Sploosh! Wow, he cried. Wait for me. That left just 1 little duckling in the nest. Just 1 little quack. Come, little duckling, Mama called again once more. Paddle on the water with me. No, Mama, no, cried Little Quack. I isn't too scared. I'm just too scared. You can do it, Mama said. Now here's my favorite line. Here it comes. We know you can, said Whittle, Waddle, Piddle, and Puddle. Little Quack looked at the water. He sniffed at the water. He touched the water with his foot. Could he do it? Did he dare? Suddenly, Little Quack felt brave enough. He closed his eyes and splish, splash, sploosh, splash! Into the water he plunged. I did it, he cried. I really did it. I always knew you could, Mama said. That's an important line, too. I always knew you could, Mama said. Then off they went, 5 little ducklings, proud as can be. Whittle, Waddle, Piddle, Puddle, and brave Little Quack.
Beautiful.
Bravo.
This is just a kid's story. It has nothing to do with any of our lives. It has nothing to do with what I'm trying to teach here. No, that's all a lie. That's a lie. I read this book always to my high school classes, much to their ridicule, which was deserved. I would always read it to the classes because I would say to them, listen, some of you are going to understand absolute values faster than the other ones. But that doesn't mean that I can move on. We have to wait till everyone's on their own. Now this is not...
Anyone ever take a children's literature course? That's very educational.
Yeah.
It allows you to reassess your ideas about what's important.
Yeah. I learned this from Dr. Kathy Church when I was getting my master's in education. She came in and she read us. We're in graduate school, and she's reading us children's stories. And I had 2 children at home. I was like, oh my God, I have a shelf full of brilliant material I can be using. Annie, if you were wondering where that book is, I have it. So
that reminded me of a quote.
Go ahead, Betsy.
That story reminded me, if you've got a frog to swallow, don't look at it too long. And if you've got a lot of frogs to swallow the big one first.
Amen.
The little quack kind of looked at it too long, so it took him a while.
Took a little bit longer. I do think that this story has to do with, well, if I say what it has to do with, I'm not really sure that keeps it as open as I want it to be. So I would love to hear from you. What is this story? Aaron, I'm not going to call on you for a moment. I want to see if I can get some new people.
Okay.
No insult intended, but we'll see how it goes. What does this story mean to you?
No offense taken.
Thank you. What does this story mean? What is this story about? Why am I reading this story at the Saturday service, especially after talking about being the beginning of the service, talking about being kind to other people? And we talked also in the service about being kind to the people who are mean to us. And we talked also in the service about being kind to ourselves. I think that's enough hints.
It's a story about teaching with love.
Yeah. And and to go to the answer of how do we be kind to ourselves, and the answer, if you want, here, I'll put it this way. Put me in your head for the week, and maybe it'll help you to remember to be kind to people. And the most important of the ones to be kind to is you, and to practice doing it. That's really what all this religion stuff is about. And I love how patient you all are with each other, and that's another part of it. The way that all the other ducklings have to wait for little Quack, and they don't make fun of him, and they just wait for him. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Any other comments about the little Quack book? No, Rabbi, no.
No, you won't let me. Okay, I'm kidding.
That's all right. Anything else? I'm gonna take that as y'all are. Silence is hard because sometimes it's like what I said was really deep, and that's why there's silence. And sometimes the silence is. I'll tell you that I could sure use a little bit more. I would love to hear a little bit more feedback.
I got something.
Go ahead, Eileen.
That I noticed from the book is that all the little ducklings had their own timing.
Yeah, right.
And the mother who said, I know you can. Sometimes we don't think we can do it. I did better in school if the teacher loved the subject. It's I didn't really like science, but the teacher was like in love with science. So I said, okay, I kind of want to do well in science to make the teacher happy, So however it happens, but Mama knew the kids could do it. So the first one jumps in, and it's easier too that, wow, everybody's in the water. I might miss out. Whatever was going on in Little Quack, but last but not least.
And I'll go back, thank you, Eileen. I'll go back to Meg. Dear Meg, who last week said, Rabbi, I don't think I can be nice to people for a week. And me in the role of Mama Duck said, oh, I know that you can. And then Meg wound up not being an asshole to that person in the whole knitting class. I guess that's it, right? That's the moral of the story is I know you all have the ability to be kind to yourselves and to others. Am I hitting this? Am I beating a dead horse? Moving on?
Good.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. And then Ron.
This is something I've never shared with anybody, and it's hard to really share. Certain children's songs make me cry, and I don't know why. I think I know why. I have a feeling, but I don't know why. And I've never really been able to share this with anyone. And I was feeling kind of connected to everybody, so I wanted to share it. I mean, like the stupid, I don't know what it is. It's a stupid song that goes da 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 da. Anyone recognize this?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm not singing it.
It's okay. Go ahead.
It's okay.
What's the point? Where are you getting at, Aaron?
It's a kid's song. I don't know why it makes me cry. It just does. It makes me connect with something when I was young.
Yeah.
So Aaron, you just...
I still don't know. I feel like I'm blocking something, but I don't know what it is.
Aaron, you just hit me into where this is. A few weeks ago, we had a whole group of people being vulnerable on this call. And Aaron, you just did the same thing. You said, I have never shared this before. And that's the water that I'm talking about for all the ducklings to jump into, is that we have people on this service being willing to just be themselves and to be vulnerable and to be open. And that's part of the water that I'm talking about. And everyone's invited into it. And some of you, I actually got an email from someone a few weeks ago, and it said, Rabbi, you give stickers out to people when they ask questions, and you were so proud of the people when they were being vulnerable. And I was neither telling you I had a problem, nor was I being vulnerable, and I'd like a sticker too. Like, all right. You can have a sticker for being vulnerable and telling me that. Alrighty. I'm going to share one other story, and then we'll move on. Years ago, and oh no, I think I did already tell this group. I already told this, so hold on. Let me leave that be. Let me try something different. What are you taking with you? What's the moral of the story? In about 5 minutes, I'm going to write up the 2-thought review of the Saturday service. What's the nugget of wisdom you're taking with you from today? Go ahead, Derek.
I think that Dutch story is a coming of age story. Getting out in the world and getting away from your dependence on your parents to live.
Yeah. And to expand on that a little bit, Derek, that we all have to come to our own, right?
You can't do it. You can't make somebody else do it.
Amen.
You do it on your own.
Ron, what do you say?
I think coming of age happens at different ages.
Yes, sir.
And not everything that we are ready for comes at the same time.
Right. So some of us sooner, some of us, and then we keep changing as we grow. That's the point of a real spiritual life. Is if your life is the same as it was 5 years ago spiritually, you're not growing. Jordan.
Yeah, the point I got was try to love difficult people. It's good for you because it's good for them, but it's good for you.
Yeah, loving difficult people might be hard, but it's good for you, selfishly. Wonderful. Thank you, Jordan.
And
go ahead.
Trying to be more patient and gentle with students who take a little bit longer to get,
Yeah, especially Aaron and anyone else, if that's you, to have a little extra patience and a little extra gentle when people don't get it, because you're not gonna get them to come out in otherwise. Thank you, Eileen, for bringing that all back together, or Betsy for bringing that back together. Folks, I can't. Go ahead, Emily. Emily, were you saying something? No? Oh, well then, hi, Emily. Folks, I was at dinner last night, and I was telling someone about this service, and what I couldn't explain well enough is how delighted I am that all of you. I mean, I feel like sometimes a little bit like the island of misfit toys. That all of y'all who, that all of everyone who's totally different, and that we're all coming together. It's a really beautiful thing, and and I'm really honored and glad to be here doing my piece of this, and so I thank you all. Stick around. Oh, I forgot to make the announcement very early on. If the chat annoys you, apparently there's ways of turning the chat off. You still will see it pop up. And stick around, and Alex can explain that to you in our second hour. Stick around. We're going to have donut hour. If you've never stuck around for a second hour, stick around for donut time or for deep dive or the poetry room. That will be happening too. Otherwise, I'll wave and say goodbye to everybody. Oh boy. Okay. There. Let me full screen so I get everyone on. No, I can't do that yet. Come on. There we are. All right. Let's all say goodnight. Goodbye. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And then I'm going to do my best.